Live from the NBD Production Studios, you're in the lab with your host, Joshua Diaz. How's it going, everybody? Good to be here. Good to see you. Taking a look at everybody. Yeah. Welcome. Welcome to the lab. I'm your host, Joshua Diaz. It's good to be here. Good to see you. How is everybody doing? It is Monday, February 14th, 2022. For after 7 here on the West Coast. And I would like to welcome everybody coming in. Thank you so much for being here and making me part of your day. If you have not, please like, share, subscribe. Appreciate it. Comment. Thumbs up really helps. It always does. Yes, it does. Well, now, I guess we can get started. How's everybody doing tonight? It's good to be here. And we're going to be talking about a different case that we haven't discussed yet, but it's getting more publicity, and it's a tricky case because today it just became more complicated, and we will cover all that very shortly. I'm a little late on this, but I was going to mention something about it. I was reading about the Bob Saget thing. When I say the Bob Saget thing, I mean, his death, and how they believe that he hit his head and had a brain bleed and passed away. I mean, it's just completely tragic. I loved Bob Saget growing up. America's Funniest Home Videos, Full House, Chappelle Show. I don't know what else. He did stand up. He was pretty funny. But completely crazy, completely scary. Wow, what a tragic thing that is. So yeah, man, you hit your head. You should definitely go to the hospital. So let's just get into it tonight because we kind of have a lot to cover introducing this case. If you aren't familiar with the case, that is a picture of Corey and Codi Bigsby. The little 4-year-old on the left of your screen is missing, and the person of interest is his father. His father is also in custody for child neglect, 7 felony counts of child neglect, which is a lot. And I'll explain those charges as we go forward here. But once again, we're stuck with this tragedy of a missing child and not getting answers that we probably should get, not us, but the family. And but this case really became complicated today, and unfortunately that's kind of how this goes. But let's go ahead and here's a brief little introduction.
Developing now in the search for missing 4-year-old Codi Bigsby.
After his father, Corey Bigsby, confessed to leaving his children alone on 2 occasions, police arrested him on 7 child neglect charges. None of those incidents, we're told, are connected to Codi's disappearance. Corey Bigsby faced a judge this morning. We're told he said that the children were, quote, too much of a burden to take him out with him.
Police say the search for missing 4-year-old Codi Bigsby is shifting into an intelligence phase. Although police said Bigsby was talking to them voluntarily for days, his lawyer is telling a different story.
All right. And so the little boy goes missing with his father. It's about 2 a.m. The father reports him missing. They're questioning him. He admits to leaving the little child, or the children. I believe it's 4 children alone. There's a couple 2-year-olds. Cody's 4 years old, and there was a little older one, I think 5 or 6, something like that. Very, very young children. And he's leaving them at home alone while he goes off to do God knows what. And apparently it was for over a period of 2 hours. They had no way to get in contact with him. I don't know if 5-year-olds know how to use phones or not. I assume not. I haven't had a 5-year-old in a long time. But, that doesn't matter. And as you listen here, you can hear more details.
A judge denied bond.
So he gets arrested. Okay. He gets arrested for child neglect. It has nothing to do with his disappearance. Okay. That's what they're saying. It has nothing to do with the disappearance. But what it has to do with is child neglect.
For Corey Bigsby, the father of the missing 4-year-old from Hampton, Bigsby faces 7 felony child neglect charges. Those charges not related to the 4-year-old's disappearance.
Allison Basil joins us live from the courthouse now.
And how that's possible, I don't know, but it seems to be.
Allison, what can you tell us?
Dan, Ashley, Corey Bigsby's attorney, Jeffrey Ambrose, tells me immediately following the hearing, he went to the clerk and filed appellate paperwork to have another bond hearing at a later date in circuit court. Now, during the hearing, Commonwealth attorney Anton Bell told the court that during Bigsby's time in the Army, he was convicted of AWOL, or absent without official leave. On top of the 7 counts of felony child neglect that police have charged Bigsby with, the judge said the AWOL conviction concerned him and he denied bond. Bigsby's attorney says he has to look into this AWOL conviction and could not comment on it. He says he didn't have a chance to speak with Corey after the bond hearing, but says it's disappointing.
All right. So the reason this man is denied bond is because he has in his past, a felony from the military where he went AWOL. AWOL means absent without leave. It's not like when you stay home from work at the Pretzel Hut and they fire you if you don't get permission to leave in the military. It's a major problem. And obviously the man has a history of running away when he's not supposed to. That is never good. So he gets denied bail. Okay. So he's in jail. You know, everything's going fine. When I say everything's going fine, it's not going fine. The little boy's still missing, but the investigation's going and it's in full gear. They feel good about where they're going with this investigation. They feel good about what's happening. And as they do this, you know, things start to unfold in a I guess you could call it a strange way. Here is Chief Mark Tolbert, Hampton Police Division, speaking about this case.
It was very clear to us. The evidence about what likely occurred has been very clear. There's
Once again, Chief of Police, Mark Tolbert.
little about this that has been mysterious. We've tried hard to avoid a search for a 4-year-old boy in a tragedy, an unmitigated tragedy. We didn't want it to become a sideshow. We will continue to work and do everything we possibly can to figure out what happened to this child.
All right. And so basically what he's saying is, all right, this is our guy. This is our guy. Well, there's nothing indicating that anybody else had anything to do with this. We're looking in the right direction. Here is where it starts to get complicated once again, because of lawyers, which everybody's entitled to one, no question about it. But this is back, I believe, around February 4th or February 3rd. If you pay attention here, you can hear the lawyer for Corey Bigsby.
I am concerned that because he has been there for so long and is not being told about the presence of counsel, that his presence may not be voluntary, and that we are simply not being given access to him so that we can confirm that.
Okay, so now his lawyer, who he hires, they're saying that he was denied a lawyer because he was there voluntarily. And this is going back, 10 days now. It's never good when you're accused of that. But today, the police department has made a statement. The chief again comes out, and now here we are. Let me see with this.
An investigation like this has a lot of moving parts. One aspect of an investigation of this nature is that it is important that I keep in my mind all of the aspects of this investigation that ensure that it has the integrity that it needs to have. And that is primarily why I'm speaking to you today. This past Friday, in an effort to...
Okay, so Friday, which obviously was, 2.5 days ago.
Ensure that everything that we've done has been consistent with our best and our obligation. We reviewed video footage of some of the interviews involving Corey Bigsby. So Mr. Bigsby came to the Hampton Police Division, I'll remind you, on January 31st to assist with this investigation. He had his 3 small children with him. Around 2:30 that day, Mr. Bigsby sat for a formal interview with our detectives. The detective in that case began the conversation by reminding Mr. Bigsby that he was there voluntarily, he was not being detained by us, and that he...
For those of you just joining us, this is the investigation into the disappearance of Codi Bigsby. They're talking about the father. This is the press conference from today, as they're being accused of mishandling the interrogation an investigation.
He was, he had the right to an attorney if he chose to have an attorney with him. Mr. Bigsby decided to waive his rights at that time and to answer our question.
So what the chief here is saying is that, he's saying, I waive my rights. I'll come talk to you. Let's talk. I don't want an attorney. But that they say, hey, he absolutely had the right to one, but he waived his rights.
He continued to answer questions for several hours, and at some point it was suggested that we would like Mr. Bigsby to take a polygraph examination. Part of that polygraph examination that wasn't given by our agency, it was in fact given by a federal agency, involves, again, being reminded of his rights to an attorney, a right not to speak, a right not to incriminate himself. He received and he waived those rights, and he took the polygraph examination. Upon the conclusion of the polygraph examination, Mr. Bigsby resumed his interview with our detective.
So he agrees to a polygraph. They give him the polygraph. He still doesn't have counsel. He hasn't asked for counsel. This is according to what they feel is going on.
And our partner agencies. In the midst of this follow-up interview, there was a heated exchange between Mr. Bigsby and the lead detective in this case.
Okay, so here's where it starts to get sticky. Now, the conclusion of the polygraph, he doesn't call it a lie detector, but the conclusion of the polygraph, they're arguing. The lead detective on the case and Mr. Bigsby are arguing because of the results, I suppose.
The heated exchange came about when there was a discussion about the result of that polygraph exam. I won't discuss the result. I'll just say there was a heated back and forth. In the midst of this heated exchange, Mr. Bigsby made a statement that I believe was mishandled by the Hampton Police Division. He made a statement that indicated that he wanted to have legal counsel there with him. My assessment of his statement in that moment and a statement that he made several minutes later that was similar, expressing a desire for legal counsel, my assessment is that his desires should have been honored.
Okay, so the chief of police, who is handling, who oversees this, is talking about his lead investigator, how his request for a lawyer, or seemed to that he was indicating that he wanted a lawyer, which is everybody's right. At any point in time, you can ask for a lawyer. That's not disputed. Any given time. So, if you waive your rights at the beginning, that doesn't mean that they're waived all the way through. And we're all afforded that. It's an important part of the legal process. And it sounds as though the chief of police is admitting here that what is going on is that this was ignored. Well, if you think back to February 3rd or 4th, the lawyer was saying that he wasn't given access to him. He wanted a lawyer.
They weren't. Ultimately, a decision like this that surrounds what we will do, what the court system will do in response to this episode is for the Commonwealth attorney, it's for Anton Bell. The problematic behavior that was brought to my attention was brought to me late in the afternoon this past Friday. As soon as we discovered this, we ordered the entire command staff into the police station to do a full audit of all of the video recordings of our interactions with Mr. Big. That occurred throughout the weekend. Most of us were here all weekend completing that. Our analysis, our audit of that video left us in a much better place in terms of understanding what happened. It also allows us to be reassured and allows me to reassure.
Okay, so here's what we have going on here. This police chief asked for an audit of all the video tapes, talking to witnesses, talking to anybody, talking to him, where his rights wasn't about his rights being violated. Well, I guess it is. And he came out with the conclusion after they audited everything that yes, indeed, he wasn't afforded counsel when he asked for it. So if you're the chief here, this is your worst nightmare because a 4-year-old boy is missing. And now you're answering questions about how you handled the investigation. The investigators are now on trial and you have a big fat mess, unfortunately. And he has to answer these questions. He has to get in front of this because it sounds like, and I don't want to say anything negative about, but I think that's pretty standard police procedure, day one training. If somebody asks for a lawyer, you give them one because it compromises the investigation. So maybe this man is, whoever the lead detective was overzealous, got the lie detector results, was like, we know, just tell us. He's going, I want a lawyer. And if I think I need, or even, I think it's like, even if he says I need to speak to a lawyer, I should speak to a lawyer, whatever, that it should be honored. And he feels that it wasn't.
The public that the charges that were filed against Mr. Bigsby are, Mr. Bigsby is the only person that we've found evidence against to indicate we need to continue to pay attention to him in order to find out where Codi Bigsby might be and what may have happened to him. Nothing that occurred has shaken my confidence surrounding whether or not.
Okay, so I see people in the comments just saying, where's Codi's mom? Codi's mom is not in custody of him. And she's also not a person of interest or a suspect. I don't know. They haven't even released her. They haven't even really released anything about her because that maybe she's an absent mother, but it doesn't sound as though they have focused on her. If you listen to the police chief right here, he's saying there's nobody else that we're looking at. And that includes mom.
We've paid attention to the right person or whether or not we've missed some key detail. We have not.
So emphatically, so basically what happens here is he made a point to tell the public, to tell everybody that he was cooperating fully with us up until the argument happened. So for several hours, he didn't ask for a lawyer. Well, now that they've admitted that after it happened, you can guarantee that Corey's lawyer is going to come in and it's going to get messy. And once again, the problem here is, and I don't have a problem with the lawyers fighting for the rights of their clients, but what I do have a problem is with now there's a sideshow going on. There is an absolute sideshow going on, and the child who is missing starts to become an afterthought already. This is the last thing that this investigation needs. The police will tell you that. And it sounds as though it goes back to the one single detective who I don't know why he didn't. They'll have to answer that. It sounds like he's been dismissed from the case or put on leave because it's a major mistake. It's a major mistake. And now the one saving grace that's going to happen here is that he is not charged in the disappearance as of yet of his child or murder. He hasn't been charged with anything related to the kid going missing. What he's charged with, what I think they strategically did was we can get him on child neglect charges. He's neglecting these children. We need to get these children away from him. Let's get him in custody. And we'll work on him from there. Fair enough. That's fine. That's a totally respectable thing to do. Has no problem. And it sounds like when he got the results of the polygraph test, they didn't go so well, and he's upset about it. The cop's really pressing him, and that's when he asks. And right then and there is when you should. I've never been a cop. I'm not a cop, but I know that you have to stop. It doesn't matter what time it is. It doesn't matter it doesn't matter. Even if he's there voluntarily, you have to stop. And he didn't. So he puts this one man puts the whole investigation. He compromises the entire investigation by doing this.
Our investigation is sound.
So that's him basically saying, look, I know that this happened. I understand it happened. I'm sorry it happened. But you have got to understand that it does not affect the investigation at all. We are looking in the right direction. We have the right man. We have the right, we're looking in the right direction. We have, I don't know if he has evidence. He says he has evidence, or the evidence is good, or the investigation's good. But it sounds the way that he's saying it is, hey, we've locked in on our guy. This is our guy here. And it may be. Who knows? But what I do know is now the investigators are on trial. And this happens a lot, especially now. But this is a big mess up. There's really no way to sugarcoat this. And I think the chief here is doing the best that he can. He has admitted that he's doing wrong, or that he's done wrong. And that's the whole thing. It's kind of a bummer because, when I say kind of, it's a major bummer. Because of poor little Codi. And now listen to this. This is the response today from the attorney.
I want to say that I am incredibly grateful and proud of our Hampton Police Division today.
Right.
That they went and they reviewed all of those tapes on their own to make sure that there was nothing amiss, and that when something was, they immediately came forward.
Okay. And so the lawyer couldn't be more ecstatic. He has a great chance of getting all of these 7 charges dismissed against him. Luckily, he hasn't been charged with the disappearance or murder of his son, or whatever, negligent homicide, or I don't know, whatever they're going to charge him with. It sounds like at some point they're going to charge him with something. So the only saving grace is that's it. That's the only thing that's going to really make this turn out okay, if in fact they need to put a murder charge on him. But as for these other 7 charges, that is a mistake, what this investigator did. And I don't think anybody would tell you different, because you can't do that. You really can't do that. I feel Codi was missing before he was reported. Yeah, I do too. And it just doesn't, I don't know. And once again, if you watched the show the other night with Brandy Neal, mother of Michael Vaughn, an Amber Alert wasn't issued for him. And it doesn't sound like an Amber Alert was issued for Codi either. Each state has different criteria that they feel they have to meet. But we're talking about missing children. We're not talking about, I don't know, man. The Amber Alert thing is just, it baffles me. I don't quite understand what the issues are. And there are issues. Like I said, every state is different. The criteria is different. But we're talking about a little boy. So this is a 4-year-old boy, Michael Vaughn. 5-year-old boy. Summer Wells, 5-year-old girl. Orrin and Orson, if somebody can remind me of their ages, I know that they're young. I think it was 2 or 3, 3 or 4. There is a lot of missing kids going on. So this man, Chief Mark Talbert now has a major issue to deal with, and that major issue is the competency of his police department. They're going to be under scrutiny. Every step they take now is going to be scrutinized, right or wrong. It doesn't matter. That's just what's going to happen. And it's going to be a problem going forward for him. The one thing that he did that was good was that, he dismissed. You have to dismiss the detective. But the one thing that you don't want to happen in these cases happened. And it's a terrible example. Apparently, they found a jacket where the young man went missing, or where he was last seen, along with some tire tracks in the area, but they really haven't specified on anything like that. I just don't know. Why the detective would do that, but he did it. And unfortunately, this police chief goes, you know what? Everybody to the station. We got tape to go over. Did we mess something up? And good for him. He's trying to get out in front of it. But I'll tell you, as calm and as well as he delivered that today, and he did do well, and we can listen to it here again, now that we have the whole backstory. He's not happy about this. I mean, this is a major problem for law enforcement, for his department. It's a major problem. And I'm not saying that there's corruption. I'm not saying anything like that. It sounds like somebody made a mistake, overzealous. He's working with this guy this whole time, 2-3 hours, takes a polygraph, and then wants a lawyer. And for some reason, he just didn't put the brakes on. And it sounds like that's what he should have done. Let's listen to Chief Mark Talbot, or Talbot. Sorry, Chief Talbot.
An investigation like.
So he's not happy to be here today. So he knows Monday is going to be a bad day. Ever had a case of the Mondays? He has today.
This has a lot of moving parts. One aspect.
And I've already seen the article starting to come out online. They're saying, things like, it's not funny, but it's just how it works. The police department mishandled or refused counsel. It's a nightmare. He's going to have the rest of the day and tomorrow, and
of an investigation of this nature.
For the rest of this investigation, it's going to be a problem.
Is that it is important that I keep in my mind all of the aspects of this investigation that ensure that it has the integrity that it needs to have. And that is primarily why I'm speaking to you today. This past Friday, in an effort to ensure that everything that we've done has been consistent with our best and our obligation, we reviewed video footage of some of the interviews involving Corey Bigsby. So Mr. Bigsby came to the Hampton Police Division, I'll remind you, on January 31st to assist with this investigation. He had his 3 small children with him. Around 2:30 that day.
I like how he brings his kids to the police station and didn't leave them home. So he obviously knows that leaving them, he's left them. He admits that he's left them at home, but he takes them to the police station because he's getting questioned why one of them is missing.
Mr. Bigsby sat for a formal interview.
The fact that the man says that these kids were too much to deal with.
A judge
hear this
denied
again.
bond for Corey Bigsby, the father of the missing 4-year-old from Hampton. Bigsby faces 7 felony child neglect charges. Those charges not related to the 4-year-old's
Not related. That's important.
Allison Basil joins us live from the courthouse now. Allison, what can you tell us?
Dan, Ashley, Corey Bigsby's attorney, Jeffrey Ambrose, tells me immediately following the hearing, he went to the clerk and filed appellate paperwork to have another bond hearing at a later date in circuit court. Now, during the hearing, Commonwealth.
Corey got a lawyer after he was charged with child neglect. Yeah, he claimed they were too much of a burden to travel with. Yeah, dude, kids are tough to tote around. There's no question about it. But that doesn't mean you get to leave them at home. Everybody knows what a pain in the ass it is to load up the car seat and load up the get the bottles, get the diapers, yeah, dude. I mean, it's hard. It's hard. And what you're, I don't look, you deserve a lawyer, but you left your little kids at home, 4 of them. He says he only left them home just a couple times. I don't believe that. Now this is, I'm sure the kid ended up hurt somehow or something, and now he's hidden the kid. And that's just what it seems like. I don't know if he intentionally did this, but he's a terrible, terrible parent. Yeah, I mean, he's just like I have very little sympathy for him.
You know, an investigation like this has a lot of moving parts. One aspect of an investigation of this nature is that it is important that I keep in my mind all of the aspects of this.
Can you imagine this police chief and once again, good for him for taking the step to do this, but I don't think he had much of a choice. But even in that circumstance, how he is handling this as well. Like, I mean, he's not making any excuses. He's saying, look, this ultimately falls on me, the integrity of the investigation. I know that we're going to have problems in court because of this. And as you can tell, the lawyer was very happy.
I want to say that I am incredibly grateful and proud of our Hampton Police Division today.
Well, yeah.
That they went and they reviewed all.
He's grateful because they just served one up for him. That's what he's grateful for. And I can guarantee you, well, I say guarantee you, look, lawyers and police officers, it's going to be the lawyer's job to destroy the police department in court. And he has a lot of ammo now. So I wouldn't be surprised if these charges don't necessarily stick, but I don't know. I'm not sure.
Investigation that ensure that it has the integrity that it needs to have. And that is primarily why I'm speaking to you today. This past Friday, in an effort to ensure that everything that we've done has been consistent with our best and our obligation, we reviewed video footage of some of the interviews involving Corey Bigsby. So Mr. Bigsby came to the Hampton Police Division, I'll remind you, on January 31st to assist with this investigation. He had his 3 small children with him. Around 2:30 that day, Mr. Bigsby sat for a formal interview with our detectives. The detective in that case began the conversation by reminding Mr. Bigsby that he was there voluntarily, he was not being detained by us, and that he had the right to an attorney if he chose to have an attorney with him. Mr. Bigsby decided to waive his rights at that time and to answer our questions.
So he's hoping that by putting this out there, look, man, we've reviewed this case. We've looked at everything. He wanted to talk to us. Up until a certain point, then he didn't want to, but everything else before that should be, you know, I mean, he's really hammering this home. He's hammering it home that said this didn't affect our investigation. And he's emphatic about it, and he has to be. And I'm glad that he feels that way, because I bet you a lot of really good police work was done by a lot of really good police officers and investigators, and a mistake was made, and mistakes happen. But what happens here is people come in and they go, oh, the police department's so corrupt. They're so corrupt. You can't trust them. You can't this, you can't that, you can't. This doesn't seem like corruption. It seems like transparency. I think a corrupt police department would try and just bury this the best that they could. I mean, the lawyer was kind of already, you know, on this, and it just happened that there were legs to it, but that doesn't mean corruption. We're talking about, you know, is it a mistake? Was it intentional? I mean, if it's intentional, it's stupid. But that doesn't taint the entire investigation. It shouldn't taint the entire investigation. I hope that it doesn't. And that's what this police chief here is saying. Please, please. This didn't affect the investigation the way that you think that it did.
Answer questions for several hours, and at some point,
there he says again, he answered our questions for several hours. You know, because what's going to happen is his lawyer's going to say, was he even there voluntarily? How can you believe anything they say now? Was he there voluntarily? What was he told? Was he denied from the beginning? And they'll throw mud in this. And all the while, this little 4-year-old boy is still missing. And it's taking away from, I mean, there was a half an hour press conference about this today. Instead of an update on the case, what they're updating is a mistake. Now the chief's having to walk back. Working backwards sucks, and I'm sure he knows that. This is the last thing that he wants to do. What you want to do is always prevent a sideshow. And unfortunately, he has not done that. No, I'm not blaming him, but the department has not done that.
Was suggested that we would like Mr. Bigsby to take a polygraph examination. Part of that polygraph examination that wasn't given by our agency, it was in fact given by a federal agency, involves, again, being reminded of his rights to an attorney, a right not to speak, a right not to incriminate himself. He received and he waived those rights, and he took the polygraph examination. Upon the conclusion of the polygraph examination, Mr. Bigsby resumed his interview with our detectives and our partner agency.
I don't really care that he wasn't given a lawyer. It didn't seem like he wanted one until the polygraph results came back, and then that's when he, you know, wanted to lawyer up. Fine, that's fine. He's allowed to do that. But I think what's most important is that his 4-year-old son's missing, and they don't like the answers that he's giving. They probably don't like let me see here. They have to sign a document waiving his rights to attorney. Yes, but at any point in time, he that's why they record these conversations. He is welcome to an attorney at any time, but he signs away his rights. Or whatever he verbally says them out loud. Yes, they will be able to tell. And it seems like they have it up to a certain point and then at one point, or at two different points, eventually he does ask for that lawyer. So at what point he asked for a lawyer and they missed it? I'm still confused as to when that happened. After the polygraph, they started arguing.
In the midst of this follow-up interview, there was a heated exchange between Mr. Bigsby and the lead detective in this case. The heated exchange came about when there was a discussion about the results of that polygraph exam. I won't discuss the result, I'll just say there was a heated back and forth. In the midst of this heated exchange, Mr. Bigsby made a statement that I believe was mishandled.
Right. And Melissa here says, so they have it up to the polygraph, at least it seems. Yeah, but it's not going to matter. What I'm telling you is this lawyer, listen to him.
I want to say that I am incredibly grateful and proud of our Hampton Police Division today. That they went and they reviewed all of those tapes on their own to make sure that there was nothing amiss, and that when something was, they immediately came forward.
Okay, so there you go. And what I just don't know, man. They handed him a gift. Unfortunately, they handed him a gift. And back to the chief.
Handled by the Hampton Police Division. He made a statement that
That's all right.
Indicated that he wanted to have legal counsel there with him. My assessment of his statement in that moment and a statement that he made several minutes later that was similar, expressing a desire for legal counsel. My assessment is that his desires should have been honored. They weren't. Ultimately,
Okay, so he basically just admits there they should. I think from watching the tape that he deserved a lawyer, or he asked for a lawyer and he wasn't given one.
a decision like this that surrounds what we will do, what the court system will do in response to this episode is for the Commonwealth attorney, is for Anton Bell. The problematic behavior that was brought to my attention was brought to me late in the afternoon this past Friday.
Twice.
As soon as we discovered this, we ordered the entire command staff into the police station to do a full audit of all of the video recordings of our interactions with Mr. Big. That occurred throughout the weekend. Most of us were here all weekend completing that. Our analysis, our audit of that video left us in a much better place in terms of understanding what happened. It also allows us to be reassured and allows me to reassure the public that the charges that were filed against Mr. Bigsby Mr. Bigsby is the only person that we've found evidence against to indicate we need to continue to pay attention to him in order to find out where Codi Bigsby might be and what may have happened to him. Nothing that occurred has shaken my confidence surrounding whether or not we paid attention to the right person or whether or not we've missed some key detail. We have not. Our investigation is sound.
Okay, and he wants you to understand. Yes, this is a mistake. It shouldn't have happened. They're likely trying to avoid a lawsuit or acquittal on these 7 charges, but he has not been charged in the disappearance of his son yet. And luckily, like I said, and I think that it is a thought out reason that they didn't charge him with that yet is so that they could get him in custody for something else, talk to him. Maybe they can find out where this boy is. And that's the point of them calling him in. And I get it that it's going to be overshadowed by some overzealous detective, possibly making a major mistake. And yet they're desperately trying to find this little boy, but now they have to deal with this. And really, this isn't what it should be about. What it should be about is finding Codi. And that has now taken a back seat to this fight. And not saying that they would have solved the case by now if his request would have been, respected, but I fight for the rights of people. I do. And I understand that he deserves a lawyer. I have no doubts. That's not in. But what the chief of police is saying here is that this did not affect this investigation or these charges. He got into an argument, nothing other than them fighting about the whatever the results of the polygraph. That seems to be what this was about. And he wasn't given a lawyer. All the while, Mr. Codi Bigsby, who was the last one in possession of his child, is sitting in jail, not telling police what he knows. His kid's missing. And it's never a great thing when your kid goes missing and then you lawyer up. I mean, it was a good start for him to go down there and, hey, I'm an overwhelmed father. He's going to give us this whole spiel of, I'm an overwhelmed father. I have all my kids. I take care of my kids, which he doesn't really, because he leaves them at home, which is insane. And he leaves these little children at home. And yeah, I agree with this right here. The existing charges are nothing. He'll get a slap on the wrist for that. Yeah, probably. I mean, it probably came back that he was being deceptive and they didn't like how it looked. And so what ends up happening is I'm sure that the detective started putting the screws to him. That's what they do. They get the results back and they say, well, look, dude, that's just this is speculation. But they show up and they say, dude, look, man, you did really bad on this polygraph. We know you have more to do with this. Why don't you tell us exactly what you know? And we can just, go get your son, tell us where he is. The polygraph tells us that you're not being truthful, blah, blah, blah. And that's when he goes, I want a lawyer, which isn't a good sign, by the way, for the child that's missing and the father's involvement. He obviously leaves the kids alone. He's admitted to it twice, he says. And the judge, even, I don't know if he's going to get bail now or not. He doesn't have custody of the kids. I don't know the situation with the mother. I don't think her identity has been released because it sounds like maybe she could be a witness at some point. I don't know for a fact, but that's what I've heard. So who really knows where we're at here? As for the bloody mattress, that's nothing that I've been able to establish. I just don't know. Yeah, he went to pay for he had bought a second house, and none of it seems right. It seems like this is the guy. It seems like this man knows where his son is. It sounds like he leaves them at home and bad things happen. I mean, you can't just leave little kids at home and expect everything to be okay. Candace, Dawn, Trezell, and let the kids run out front. Come on now, you can't do that. That's not even your kid playing out front. That's you just leaving them, abandoning them when you're supposed to be the one taking care of them. And he will probably now, because of this, slide on these charges.
I want to say that I am incredibly grateful.
We know you're grateful. Why are you grateful?
I want to say that I am incredibly grateful and proud of our Hampton Police Division today. That they went and they reviewed all of those tapes on their own to make sure that there was nothing amiss, and that when something was, they immediately came forward.
Yeah, and gave you all the ammunition you need to get Codi scumbag Bigsby off on these charges. Congratulations. Christmas come early for you guys. I still think you did it and you have everything to do with it and you know where he is, because but here we're going to go again. It's going to get into what kind of a person would leave 4 little kids at home alone? Oh, a mental person. So you're going to have forensic psychologists, you're going to have expert witnesses. You're gonna they're gonna try and make this guy, PTSD. He was in the military, he went AWOL, he can't cope, nobody helped him. He's raising the 4 kids on his own. Brother, if you can't take care of those children on your own, reach out for help. Anybody out there. Raising kids isn't easy, but that doesn't mean that you get to neglect them. And if you're struggling, you have to be able to ask for help. Because this whole I'm crazy thing, that's what's going to happen. Capblock, thank you. And I will check that. Let's see. What one is this? Yeah, I'll check that out here in a minute. I just don't believe. I just don't believe for a second that this man has nothing to do with this. Now, once again, do I have any clue as to what's going on other than him leaving his children around? No, I don't. But I know what happens now. I've seen it happen a bunch. I don't know if I can play this video without getting copywritten, but let me look. Maybe I can play the audio. Inside Edition will strike me. They're not very nice about their stuff. I'll have to pull the audio and I can do it that way. Yeah, I believe so. Yes. Let's see here. Yeah, no, I understand. But Inside Edition would go for me. So let's see here. Let's see what the chat's saying here. These children depend on him. He wasn't there. There's no excuse. Well, there's not an excuse, but I'm telling you, it's going to turn into a mental thing. It's going to turn into a mental case. Wasn't those kids 4 years or younger, something like that? Like 5, I think, might have been the oldest. They were absolutely young children. And it's terrible because I understand getting overwhelmed. I get having 4 kids as a single father or whatever. Yeah, that's going to be a tough thing to deal with in life. But, don't have the kids then. You're the one that had the kids. They're your kids. Britt asked if there were any other CPS cases. I don't believe so. I don't think so. Ken says there have been multiple things about this case that have been fishy from the start. It was definitely not just a normal missing type. Even his description was questionable. He's not telling the truth. And I think his whole thing is, it was just too much of a burden for me to take the kids, blah, blah, blah. Well, what that is him saying, I leave the kids home alone all the time. And I think something bad probably happened. And I tried to cover it up. I mean, that happens a lot. And then, the They always say the cover up can be worse than the crime, and that's probably what's going to happen in this situation. And it's really unfortunate. And we will keep an eye on this situation. Let's see here. It makes you wonder if there's any evidence of the home, because how did he keep them inside? And well, they're saying that they have a bunch of items that they've collected and that they've went through. And that there are forensics involved. Just take care of your children. I mean, yeah. I mean, I hope they find this young man safe. But it's now we're at like 14 days, and it sounds like the dad is not in a desperate search to find the young man. And that should tell you a lot, and all you really need to know about Codi Bigsby. Yeah. Like I said, we will keep an eye on this situation. I have no clue. I have no clue. All right, guys. Well, thank you for being here tonight. That was our show, and I'm your host, Joshua Diaz. Kara, thank you so much for the super chat, and we're out of here. Maybe I know a lot of people have left, but if you stick around for a minute, maybe you can say hi to Otis. Hold on. Just stay where you are if you want to. If not, it's all good. Hold on. We got an incoming notice. Hold on. Calm down. Okay. And there. Here, let's get the mic out of your way. Let's take this down. Missed everything. Okay. Say hi. Say hi. Can I have a kiss? Hey, give me a kiss. Mwah. Happy Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day. Mwah. Yes, I will love you too. He's a little, he's just a big baby. You can hear him. Listen. What's that? What's that? Say hi. Go ahead. Say hi. Say woof, woof. Woof, 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 woof. Come on. Woof, 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 woof. I know he's something. He is camera shy though. I'm not sure. Oh shoot. I'm not sure why, but he seems to be a bit shy. Hey, look right there. Look. What's that? Say hi, everybody. Hi. There are people watching. You have to say hi. Can you say hi, please? No? You refuse? You refuse to say hi. It's like that. He just went. You have a kiss? Come on, give me a kiss. Come on, you know you're going to give me a kiss. Come on. Never mind. He don't want to kiss me. Whatever, dude. It's not nice. Dude. You should want to kiss your dad. But I don't know why. He don't want to. He don't want to do it. But he will dance for you, he said. Say bye again. He wants to go to sleep. Little bubble. Yeah. Here, come on. Right back here. Yeah. All right, it's time to go. It's enough. Calm down.